Hi, this is Sneha for Covai Post. I'm here at the PSG Institute of Management meeting Mr. Ravi Kumar, who can be well described as a CV expert, but he asked me not to describe him as such. So I'll say he's a management faculty with the institute, and he has an expertise in placement skills. He has traveled around 32 countries in 6 continents and also has done business with 20 international companies. So I'm very eager to meet him. Let's go. What do you think are the important things in a CV?
What is important in a resume or your CV is to demonstrate your capabilities.
Okay.
People are hired for their demonstrated competence. So at every stage of the CV, you want to demonstrate the areas in which you are competent, and people will hire you for that.
Okay. What makes a CV interesting and another CV very boring?
I'm not so sure whether it's a question of interesting or boring. I think it has more to do with relevance. So if the things in the CV are relevant to the job being sought or the position on offer, then it becomes interesting. If there are irrelevant items on the resume, then people will find it boring. So stick to what is relevant is my recommendation.
Okay. Tell me about the essential structure of a CV.
There are so many structures. There's a very large variety. Many of them make sense. Some of them are difficult to understand. What's important is that there should be a sort of rational, logical flow.
Okay.
So as long as there's a connectivity from beginning to end and one can read it without getting tired of reading, that would make for a good CV. There are many formats. There are some essential elements which should be included, like your academic qualifications, additional qualifications if you have any, your capabilities in terms of demonstrated competence either in work experience or in summer internships or internships during your undergraduate days or your postgraduate experiences, extracurricular, co-curricular activities to show that you're not just a student, that you're more than just someone who's interested in a job.
Okay. So apart from the academic qualification, how much importance should be given for extracurricular or co-curricular activities in a CV?
It's not only extracurricular and co-curricular activities that are important. Also important are one's hobbies and one's special interests. Especially in management, they're looking for people who are well-rounded, who have developed many different aspects of their personality and character. And this is best demonstrated through co-curricular activities which are in alignment with the academic curriculum, extracurricular activities which are outside the academic curriculum, for example sports or art, and then your hobbies and special interests, something which engages you in your spare time in depth and gives you satisfaction. So hobbies and special interests are not only rest, recreation and relaxation, but a matter of depth and something you seek. This is what helps you develop better as a person. This helps with individuation. And this is what companies are looking for. They're looking for individuals, because there are as many attitudes as there are people. And someone with an individual way of looking at things can perhaps make a contribution which no one else has. And we have seen that so many times. Steve Jobs and the smartphone. So many people were talking about it. He did it. Alexander Fleming and discovery of antibiotics. One man saw something which no one else saw. And I think that's true for all of us. Everyone is capable of seeing something which no one else has seen.
What are the disadvantages of a long CV and how does one correct it?
Alright, what you should worry about is the person reviewing the CV should not get tired of reading it. So one of the disadvantages is due to the fact that the attention span of the average human has diminished.
Okay.
So when you're reading a CV, you can assume that it's being read with someone who has the average attention span, and because of modern media, social media, people's attention span have actually reduced to less than 30 seconds. So you have to have a terrific CV which keeps the reader's attention for more than 30 seconds before they're distracted by Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or something else.
Okay.
So if it's too long, the connections which people make in their minds when they read your CV are lost. And if those connections are lost, then you are not benefiting from what you have done. However, if it's too short, you may be tempted to leave out things which are vitally important to get the position you are seeking.
Okay.
So there's a balance. Now, some recruiters want a short CV. So that's what you give them. You write the CV for the audience. So you have to try to find out what the recruiter is looking for. So this is what many placement departments in organizations do, especially in colleges, postgraduate colleges, and even in undergraduate institutions looking to place their students. They try to establish what is a recruiter looking for, and if it's a one-page CV, well then we cut the CV down to only the highest priority items.
Okay.
If it's 2 pages, you can include both high priority and important items.
Do you think there is a connection between the corporate world and the CV culture?
There is a connection, a very interesting one. Corporates use CVs as a basis for interviewing people. But they have done some fantastic research on this, both academic and non-academic. Research from as a result of people's personal experiences of using CVs for interviews. And what the research says, and what surprises me, is that corporates still don't follow the advice of top research, is that you don't interview people to give them a job. What you do is you look at the CV. If you see demonstrated competence, you give them a job.
Okay.
So those who are the most competent should be given a job. For example, I'll just give you an example. It's a little different from, say, a management. A pilot. They're not going to put you in command of an aeroplane unless you have a certain number of hours. Even as a private pilot, even when you're learning to fly, it is in the hands of the instructor to see, can you fly? And have you done enough to demonstrate your ability to take the aeroplane? Then you do your first solo. And that's all the way to senior captains. You don't want someone in charge of an enterprise if they don't know how to manage it. And a lot of flying an aeroplane is managing a very complex piece of equipment. Just like a business, it's very complex. So can you manage that? So we're looking from your CV, we should just see who is the most competent. Do we have 1 or 2 openings? And take them. So there actually should not be much space for interviews based on CVs, but that's the way it is. So to get a job, you have to not only write a good CV, but you need to know how to interview so that your competence shines.
Okay.
And then they select you.
You're very active in management and placements, right?
Yes.
Do you ever get bored of the corporates?
Corporates? Boring? Never. Because you can be sure that the individuality that comes from several people working together is going to be so unique. Every opportunity is a learning experience. It's fantastic. One can never get bored, and one can never worry about getting bored. What does get boring, and this is really important, is when people make you wait. That's something we could do much better. If we have given an appointment, within a few minutes we should engage with that. It is quite boring waiting, drinking tea and eating sandwiches and samosas and biscuits, whereas you would prefer to use the time to be productive.
The last question. So I watched the movie Intern, Robert De Niro,
Yes.
and he produces a video resume, which was very interesting. So what is your opinion about video resumes?
All right. George Bernard Shaw, who got a Nobel Prize for literature, he once said, "You're not entitled to an opinion, You're entitled to an informed opinion because no one is entitled to be ignorant.
Okay.
Right. So, my informed opinion would be that it's getting very popular and more people are doing it. But there's a big difference between what you saw as your resume, as a CV in the movie The Intern by Robert De Niro, and what you are seeing people send as video CVs, as video resumes. You see, when you shoot something on camera, it's very flat, it's two-dimensional. When you see people, it's three-dimensional, which is why movies are getting more popular now in 3D, because it's a better experience. In 2 dimensions, you have to be a star just to make a good impression. So Robert De Niro is a star. How many of us are stars? Almost no one. If we were stars, we would be discovered and we would be in Hollywood or Bollywood, at least. They've discovered Priyanka Chopra, they've discovered Deepika Padukone in Hollywood, so they're there. They are stars. They're able to make a 2-dimensional event into more than 2 dimensions. That's what makes a star. You're going to send a video CV, you should be a star. Then you need a camera person, you need a professional camera, you need lighting. You think Robert De Niro didn't have a script? He had a script. You need a script writer, someone who has won awards. And by the time you collect all these things, you've spent a few $1 million. You spent a few crores of rupees. If you spend that much money, I would say yes, do a video CV. Otherwise, much better. Piece of paper, little bit of thinking, and there you are.
Okay.
Your job is waiting for you.